Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Cody Proctor. This is the KREM 2 News Week in Review, where each weekend we bring you headlines from the past week in the Inland Northwest. Let's get started with one of the biggest news stories of the past few days.
This isn't just a routine training. Every step in the Icicle Creek doubles as efforts to find Travis Decker. And even with better conditions like this, crews say this is still a challenge. The team fanned out, practicing swift water tactics in case of a real-life emergency. They're also keeping their eyes open, looking for any clue that could point to Decker's whereabouts. Today's training began about a quarter mile upstream from the campsite where Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia's bodies were found. Decker is accused of killing them and hasn't been seen since. Sheriff Mike Morrison says his office took a big financial hit in June when they launched an all-out search for Decker. The U.S. Marshals Service has taken over the search, but deputies are still using every opportunity in the field to keep looking for Travis Decker. It's been nearly 2 months since Decker disappeared.
And we want to continue that effort, but make sure that we're allocating our funds appropriately so we can make it through the year and don't have to walk across the street and ask for additional funds from our Board of County Commissioners unless absolutely necessary.
Morrison says they're prepared for the long haul. He points to a case in Okanogan County where deputies just identified the remains of Dylan Harrington. Harrington is accused of murdering a couple and had been on the run since 2022. In the Enchantments, Bridget Chavez, King 5 News.
It's been nearly a month since President Trump signed his tax and spending cut bill into law, and today Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown and local union members held a press conference to voice their opposition to the legislation and the Eastern Washington Congressman Michael Baumgartner's support of it.
We love working for the residents of Spokane. I care about the neighborhoods and the people. I am here to serve.
Jim Teakin's a member of the American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees Union, or AFSCME. It's a nationwide labor union representing public service workers, a group he says will suffer under the new legislation.
It's going to impact the services that we are able to provide as public employees.
The bill passed along party lines, with Congressman Baumgartner voting in favor of it. Critics of the legislation point to analysis from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, which projects the legislation will add trillions to the deficit and result in millions losing their Medicaid coverage. On the other hand, supporters argue the bill will save nearly $2 trillion in government spending over the next several years.
If it were actually balancing the budget, I think most of us would say we're willing to take some sacrifice, but the sacrifices here are on people like veterans. They've already sacrificed. Let's be clear about that.
Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown and others at today's press conference worry that rural areas like Odessa and Colville will be hit especially hard when it comes to funding for health care facilities.
If those hospitals shut down due to this lack of funding, we are just going to see an overload of folks into our health care system right here in Spokane, Washington.
While the bill is now law, Teakin and Mayor Brown say they're speaking out so people in Eastern Washington understand what's in store. For his part, Baumgartner argues the bill includes billions for rural health care and reins in what he calls wasteful spending. Today, he responded to Mayor Brown, writing in part, quote, "I'm not surprised that Mayor Lisa Brown criticized it. She has always been in favor of higher taxes. It is two very different philosophies of what government should be." Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Today, neighbors on Frederick Avenue here in Millwood are still looking for answers as to what led up to a police pursuit ending in a crash, quite literally, in their front yards.
What started as a routine traffic stop turned into a full-blown chase after a Spokane County Sheriff's Office deputy says they tried to pull over Matthew Gardner for reckless driving. In a press release, the Sheriff's Office says Gardner blew through a stop sign and drove close to 80 miles per hour in a 50-mile-per-hour zone. The Sheriff's Office says 2 deputies then started chasing Gardner down Frederick Avenue in Millwood before Gardner hit a dead end, made a U-turn.
Oh, he's gonna ram my car. Collision.
And crashed into a patrol car. This video is from a neighbor's Ring doorbell camera moments after the crash. This neighbor's truck was also damaged in Tuesday's crash. While the neighbor didn't want to talk on camera, she tells me she was home when everything happened, and the only word she used to describe it is loud. Gardner was arrested for attempting to elude a law enforcement vehicle and assault second degree. However, this isn't the first time Gardner has been arrested and booked into the Spokane County Jail.
My apologies, Your Honor. This is Mr. Gardner, number 3 on the docket.
The sheriff's office says this is actually the 4th time Gardner has appeared before a judge this year alone. Gardner's priors include malicious mischief and possession of a controlled substance.
The court notes that he has 5 adult convictions, that he has 20 failure to appears and failure to complies, that he has pending current charges, and that he's on SOC as well. Court will set bail in the amount of $20,000.
The Spokane County Sheriff's Office says during his arrest, Gardner admitted to deputies that he ran because his car is unregistered and that there was meth and fentanyl inside of his car.
The Sheriff's Office says this is still an active investigation and additional charges are possible. In Millwood, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
As we go to break, here's a check of your weekend forecast. Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Before we get back to this week's headlines, we want to remind you that you can get the latest news and weather forecasts anytime you want on KREM 2 Plus. It's our streaming app you can watch on your TV, and best of all, it's free. We hope you'll check it out, but now let's get back to the weekend review.
The fire broke out at the Firestone Tire in Spokane Valley on the corner of Sprague and University Road, as you can see behind me. Now, fire officials say that 911 calls reported heavy smoke, and they estimate damages up to $500,000.
I talked to a representative of Firestone, and they say they are grateful no one was inside during the time of the fire. Spokane Valley Fire reported that multiple hose lines were used to contain the fire in the shop area. The fire did not spread to the store area of the building, but there is significant smoke damage. Right next door, employees at Perfection Tires say the fire is a big reminder that their shop could have easily met the same fate.
Definitely a big eye-opener. It's definitely a risk that we live with every day. We got flammable fluids around, a lot of flammable items on the shelf. So it's definitely hits real close to home. It's probably one of our worst fears in this tire industry is a fire like that.
Neither Spokane Valley Fire Department nor Firestone officials can confirm the cause of the fire just yet. They still say it's under an active investigation. I'm reporting in Spokane Valley, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
A life-saving medication may be just a click away. Washington's Department of Health just rolled out a one-stop resource for free naloxone. Thanks to this new website, you can find free Narcan near you at local organizations or even a grab box like this one outside Spokane's Regional Health Building.
And that's the beauty of it, is it really does allow for any and all bystanders to be trained in it, to be able to administer this.
Sarah McNew says the West Spokane Wellness Partnership has been distributing Narcan through DOH since 2023. So far, more than 2,500 doses.
We also partnered with Peer Spokane and Better Health Together last year to help launch a free Narcan vending machine available at Peer Spokane during their business hours.
DOH's preliminary data from last year shows 3,100 people in Washington died from overdose, 79% from opioids. Spokane Regional Health says most overdoses are happening in homes.
Opioids are still being prescribed at very alarming rates in our community, and so we want to be upstream of this issue. We want to have Narcan on hand.
DOH says naloxone is completely safe to use on anyone, even children, and there's no risk of harm even if there's no overdose.
It's just like when we are talking about fire safety and having fire extinguishers, and we want to think of Narcan just the same. Those are preventative tools. We are trying to prevent overdoses.
Naloxone is also available at most pharmacies without a prescription, and some insurances will cover the cost. We have more details at KREM.com. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
It's terrifying that this is happening to these men.
Attorney Sean Quirk's client is currently detained here in Tacoma at the Northwest ICE Processing Center. Quirk was concerned when his client didn't show up to 2 scheduled meetings.
The staff told us that he was at a hospital. They refused to tell us where he was, which hospital. They said we had to contact ICE.
How did you find that your client had tuberculosis?
We couldn't reach ICE, and so ICE started cold calling hospitals in the Tacoma area.
Quirk's client is now considered one of the 7 suspected cases confirmed by the Washington Department of Health. ACLU Alaska says 35 people were exposed to TB in June at a correctional facility in Alaska. Quirk is still trying to figure out why his client was transferred to Alaska and back.
I went to Alaska in these punitive conditions and returned with this infectious disease.
Tuberculosis is a severe disease that impacts the lungs and is extremely contagious. These cases bring into question health and medical concerns shared by advocates for years about this Tacoma facility.
These are the kinds of stories that should sound alarm bells in the heads of all people concerned about human rights in this state.
The detainees at the center are here only for immigration reasons, which is considered a civil infraction. Angelina Godoy with UW Center for Human Rights says they're not criminals, but the federal government is treating them like they are.
We continue to feel very deeply concerned about the safety of those who are being held in this facility, and very deeply alarmed, to be honest, that this kind of cruelty is happening now on the daily basis and nothing is really being done to stop it.
There's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Quirk's client is out of the hospital and still on TB treatment. He says this should have never happened.
The U.S. government effectively disappeared my client for over a week.
There's still a lot of questions regarding the number of people being treated for tuberculosis and the extent to the spread. And I'm told by the Department of Health that ICE needs to answer those questions. I did reach out to ICE and am waiting to hear back. Here in Tacoma, I'm Kristen Goodwillie, King 5 News.
Hello, I'm Cody Proctor. Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News. You're watching the Week in Review, where we bring you some of the biggest news stories of the past week.
It was a sweltering day 1 of fall camp here in Pullman, but Coach Rogers made sure the heat didn't diminish the energy, focus, and effort of his new look Cougs on day 1.
You're going to hear that same constant message from me. I'm not going to feel bad for a team that has a lot of work to do, and I'm excited about what these guys can do because there's talent. There's no question. It's just coming together as one and pushing through hard times together as we move forward. For me, the expectation's never going to drop. Nobody's going to save us. Nobody's going to feel bad for us, and I'm not going to feel bad for them as we try to prepare to be our best.
The players were excited to get out on the Rogers practice field today and practice with their teammates for the first time this fall.
I was getting tired of all the rehab and workouts. I was just excited to play football. That's what I came here to do. So I was glad to get back into it.
It was nice to kind of feel that in the stomach again, knowing okay, we're getting ready for a football season. We're finally here. So it was a good feeling getting out there again. It was fun.
The difference in the first day of fall camp under Coach Rogers, a higher level of competition.
I think we're just more competitive all around. Coach has done a good job of creating a super competitive environment and pushing each other to be our best every time, every day. He says nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, stuff like that, which is it's true, right? Other teams don't care how hot it is or how tired we are. So it's good for everybody all around.
All in all, day 1 here in Pullman was a success, and the Cougs will have 2 more split practices to round out the week. But the Cougs weren't the only football team to begin fall camp today. Let's send it down to Moscow, where we find our Caitlin Galloway with the new look Idaho Vandals.
Thanks, Andrew. If there's one word to describe the Vandals' first practice, it would be energy. They said they set that tone in the off-season, and they're looking to carry it all the way through this season.
When you're working a set and you're getting under that squat bar and you hear your teammates yelling your name, it's special. So I thought we carried that over great today with the high fives, and it's going to be a fun season.
Jake Cox is part of a small but mighty group of Vandal returners. After a season-ending injury last year, he's excited to be back, making a difference in year 6. Donovan Parham is also a 6th-year player, but it's his first season at Idaho. He's excited to step up into a leadership role and is loving the team and the new coaching staff so far.
I think you can't be no leader and you're not making plays. I think that took a while.
I showed up, I could play a little bit, and then I just started kind of becoming a leadership role. Coach Avery Roberts kind of asked that of me.
One of the most anticipated newcomers is quarterback Joshua Wood, who Ford says is expected to start week 1. However, there's still a lot of competition on the rest of the depth chart, and he wants to keep it that way.
Fall camp tells us who walks out there first week 1. What you do the rest of the way tells us who walks out first the rest of the games. I'm not really a believer in, hey, this is who starts for us after fall camp and there's not a lot of wiggle room. I want to compete the whole year.
There's still one more team in our area kicking off fall camp today. For that, we head to Mike Boyle, who has more on the Eastern Eagles.
Eastern Washington Eagles getting the 2025 fall season underway here at Camp in Cheney today. It's just a month until their opener, and they know that time is ticking to get ready to turn things around in this program.
Obviously, we did a good job in a few areas as a team last year, but putting them in 3rd and 4th down situations, red zone situations, and then there to be some type of risk reward at the end of those situations. So it's not just drill over, you won, we go home. They're playing for something, because in a game you're playing for something. How do we simulate that as much as we can out here on the grass fields and roofs when we get there?
The Eagles returned just 4 starters from last year's squad, 3 on defense and 1 on offense. Graduate senior Jared Taylor takes over under center, and he hopes to bring a change in results this fall.
Something I've learned is just having fun. That's something I've been working on, because playing quarterback, it's a pretty serious thing. So the better I can stay loose but stay calm and just stay in the moment and just put a smile on my face, I think that's a big thing I've learned.
31 letter winners return primarily on the defense, who will have to carry the load in the early season.
I think it's really important for us. I think it's important for us to just take the lead. You know, we got a bunch of older guys, a lot of experience playing, so I think it's just important to really just hone in on the offseason, the work that we put in, and just see it forward with the first game of the week.
Eagles look to rebound from a 4-8 season last year. Their opener against Incarnate Word, the number 5 team in the country, coming up on August 30th at 4 p.m. Pacific. Reporting from Cheney, Mike Boyle, KREM 2 Sports.
Before we wrap up this edition of the KREM 2 News Week in Review, we have one more story you might have missed this past week.
Meet a unique member of the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, Rocket the therapy dog.
Well, thank you. Here, let's shake. Let's shake.
The Brittany Spaniel provides comfort for first responders across northern Idaho, like Dan Atkinson with Northern Lakes Fire District. He was one of many firefighters who responded to the targeted ambush on Canfield Mountain last month. He says the questions he was asking himself at the time were shared among other firefighters.
Where is the shooter? Were they able to find him? Were they able to neutralize him? Are all of our people safe?
The answer? 2 North Idaho firefighters, Battalion Chiefs John Morrison Jr. and Frank Harwood, were murdered in the ambush. A third firefighter, David Tisdall, is on the road to recovery from critical injuries. After the initial response, firefighters and law enforcement held several meetings debriefing the situation. An important but emotional time for Atkinson and many others.
Our brains do need to know how to process it, but when we go into the room, it's also a painful process in diffusing and debriefing our personnel.
And a Rocket who came in and sought out everyone in the room needing a companion in a job that doesn't stop.
Those officers are still putting their uniform on. They're still hanging a badge on their chest.
John McSwain's the chaplain for the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. He's also Rocket's owner and says his presence for nearly 3 years in northern Idaho is exactly what they needed at the time of the ambush and now.
How do you quantify the work that he's done? Well, we quantify it through the hundreds of conversations that I've had with people in this very office. Where people come in and they say, I want to pet Rocket.
As more information comes out about the ambush, Atkinson hopes more first responders in the community who are struggling seek out support like Rocket to better their mental health.
I think what people often forget is that first responders, police officers and firefighters are people too.
Connor McAvoy.
Thank you, Rocket.
KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Be sure to keep it here for more news and weather updates throughout the weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for watching.